guest of Mike Franklin. Her name is Jen Lundgren. Stephanie Calderon. A guest of Faye Morse, we have Eric Smith. A guest of Steve Pickering, we have Ken Cook. A guest of Leo Litsky, Nancy Stockton. You weren't as busy this week, Mark. We have a guest of Mark Irvin, we have Mike Adams. Another guest of Mark, Tanisha Dreilinger. And we also, another guest of Mark, we have Magdalena Verdugo. A guest of Joe Danishevsky. Andy Erlinson. A guest of Daryl Stewart. Dr. John Yellen. And Waki Redzar. She has Mike Kelly, Diane Kelly, and her husband Mark. Welcome, you guys, and also thank you guys for all coming today, and thank you guests for tuning in virtually. We're glad to have you here. And now to introduce our program, we have the one, the only major reign of terror, Bob Logan, our immediate past president. Member since 2008, he's also a lumberjack and a wildcat. And did you actually go to South Point?
Good friend of mine, Doug Hockstad, and I've got a short couple of sentences, but I want to give some personal comments about my relationship with him when we were working together in the College of Science. So Doug Hockstad is a senior executive assistant vice president, is that the title? At the University of Arizona Technology Transfer and Commercialization Organization, Tech Launch Arizona. Doug joined the U of A in 2013, initially directing the IP and licensing function with more than 25 years of experience in technology transfer, and he spent many years at the University of Michigan before he came here. One of the few people in history that had an opportunity to, just like Rich Rodriguez, at two different universities. It's kind of an amazing thing. No, that's a side joke. So, the faculty at the University of Arizona have three things in their mission: research, teaching, and outreach. That's typically what their contracts read. And commercialization and doing tech transfer of their inventions or their discoveries was really not high on the radar screen like 10, 20 years ago. There was an organization called the Office of Technology Transfer, and truth be told, and Doug may confirm this, and maybe you don't since you represent the university, it was not a very good organization, and it was not helpful to the faculty. So if they had an invention or some technology that could actually be commercialized, it kind of went into the OTT black hole, and so faculty finally said, we're not going there anymore. And our results showed nationally. We were not very good nationally in terms of technology transfer and commercialization, making new companies, etc. Tech Launch Arizona was formed. David Allen was the first guy that hired Doug Hockstad, and the entire culture began to change. And I dealt with many College of Science faculty members that had inventions, and they would come to me and they say, should I do it? Absolutely. Trust me, go to Tech Launch Arizona and you will see action. And that has actually happened. So I hope you're going to talk about some of the statistics and the new companies that have been formed, because it is a new world order at the university, and your tax dollars are supporting the intellectual property and the inventions that are being created at the university, and his organization is the one that tries to bring this to market to create value for the tax holders of the state of Arizona. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to our keynote speaker, Doug Hockstetter.
Hi. I have to let Mark know right away that I'm buying my tickets from him. Just so you know. He needs help. And what, like Bob said, is absolutely correct. We like to say that the office was under-resourced and under-directed. So I don't want to blame the people that were there. It was just the way the university approached tech transfer at that time. And when they started Tech1, the idea was, we're a tier 1 university, 20 university, we should rank in that same area for what we do in commercialization. And I'll tell you right away that this is not about making money. The university as an entity does not make money from commercialization. There's only probably 2 or 3 universities in the country that make money at commercialization, like Stanford, MIT. Wharf does. But what it's really about is about helping faculty create new ways and get the impact of what they've done for their lives' work out into the world and impacting people like you, impacting society. So that being said, that being the intro, what is tech transfer? It's exactly that. It is the idea of protecting, because, put it this way, you can invest in something that once you put all your investment into it, the next person can go ahead and just start selling it. What would happen is we wouldn't have drugs on the market, we wouldn't have new devices, because nobody can afford to put the money required to then have a competitor come in with the exact same product. So that's what the protection's about. It's not about trying to hold it tight. It's about creating a product that's valuable. And then we do a lot of work. It's amazing what we're doing. Licensing this. We have to market it, we find people that are interested in it, and it's very early stage. If you think of like a drug, but when we're done with it, it's just a compound. It'll take $100 million or more to make that compound into something that a person can take. And that's not money the university's going to invest. So that's tech transfer writ large. Every day, you're going to see things around you that are the result of tech transfer. Google was from Stanford. That was a result of tech transfer. Honeycrisp apples from Minneapolis, Minnesota. These are things that just every day are you interacting with every day that universities create. And this is obvious what I'm going to say, but that's our purpose. The one thing that you didn't hear me say is a really big part of what we do is interacting with you. All about building an ecosystem. So one of the things that you may know is that any really big entrepreneurial ecosystem is anchored by a tier 1 research university. So that's part of what my job is to continually build that ecosystem. I want to quickly give you just some perspective that actually goes right back to what Bob was saying about the atmosphere here.
Having an entire organization within the university that's really kind of dedicated to helping us realize the benefit of what we're trying to do, right? And to even just give advice on how to proceed, that's been tremendous. And when I first got here, that really wasn't something that was in place. So I remember making this incredible discovery. So we developed this kind of cool way of making polymers from something that people didn't want. And it was like the first time in my life I ever said, wow, this could actually help humanity. Right? This is kind of what I was meant here to do. And I had no one to talk to. I didn't know how to proceed. I remember sitting in my office just kind of really being upset and depressed that I had kind of missed my chance to do this. Right? And so with TLA, that's completely changed. Right? So basically now we have the ability to assess what's important. We have the ability now to really kind of get the word out.
So that kind of describes maintained. It really was the black box problem. And what we continue to do today, trying to convince people that it's a different world. So we still need to tell people we operate in a different way. One of the things that you might ask, I said at the beginning, this is not about making money. So why do universities do this? I mean, it's a cost. Why do they invest in this? And these are just some of the reasons that universities invest in. And you'll notice that making money is not the reason. Now, we do believe that if we're successful in what we do, money will follow. And you'll see that later on. Yeah, money has followed. The thing is, we're not aiming at the money. If we aim at the money, we'll miss it. There's too many things going on. If we could hit everyone correctly, I wouldn't be in this job. I'd be doing something else like that. One of the big ones, faculty attraction and retention. Faculty are getting more savvy about this. And when we have high-level recruitment efforts, typically they want to meet with me. They want to understand what's going on with tech transfer, how does the university approach it, and what's the benefit to them. One of the benefits to them, faculty get the lion's share of any revenue the university makes off this. So it's part of a national law, a high goal. It says we have to share our revenue with the inventors. And most universities average about 30% goes to the inventors. So if it's a highly successful thing, they can make a lot of money, which is valuable to them, it's valuable to us. But it kind of everybody keeps everybody engaged. And there's a lot more reasons why it's wrong. This is just a small sampling of stuff that's happened at U of A just in the last 8 years. And some of these you might recognize, but one in particular I'll point out is Alcon. Alcon, I'm sure you're familiar with, it's the world's largest eye health company. They licensed a new type of replacement, it's called an IOL, intraocular lens, for your cataracts. And one of our researchers created a way to have a multi-focus. So it's actually got 3 planes of focus. So people can see far, see like computer distance, and read without glasses. And it lets in more light, so things are slightly brighter and more defined. And this has already been implanted or used in people around the world. It's been over 500,000 people that have used it. That's the kind of impact that tech transfer can have. Another example around here, and most of them are not for examples, is we're in a very dusty, dry, arid place. And you're all familiar with the dust storms that roll through every now and then. This is an expensive and difficult problem, and mines in particular, they have to every day apply water to prevent dust from moving. We're the researcher that came up with a way to take biocompatible polymers, so they're fine for people, create a different solution for them, and apply them to this problem, and it'll last 2 months without reapplying. And so this is a company that got launched called Clean Earth Tech. So how does this work? I'm going to really quickly go through this because you guys do not want to hear all the details. But basically, goes through a process, and we apply resources at different times in this process. Early on, it's people resources. We work with licensing managers, work directly with these inventors, help them understand what they have, help them with our processes of, to protect them, work with attorneys. We actually do an analysis of the patents and market to see if there's value here. Then we have a team that will do marketing to try and find companies that are interested, Alcon, I'm interested in. Or we have a whole other team that says, you want to start a company? Great. I'm going to put a team around you to help you understand what it's going to take to start a company. That could take a year or more of time of that person. One of the things we don't want to do is we don't want to have, point at you again, we don't want to have you leave the university. We want you to stay in and do research. But you also want to have involvement in the company. So we need to find people, we need to find you interested in the ecosystem and partnering with them to help do the business driving of the company. So that's one of the things that we spend a lot of time on, is finding business partners in the community to work with our faculty and take the companies into the world. One of the things that we have, which is really valuable and a little bit different is we have a fund. It's actually funded partially by tax dollars, by the TRIP tax. That is, we invest in the technologies in order to make them more interesting to corporations. So we would build proof of concepts. We will do some additional research that the government won't pay for. A really easy example is we have a technology out there right now that's an alternative concrete, and it's made from fly ash, which is a waste product. It has a very low carbon footprint. And I don't know if you know this, concrete is an incredibly high carbon footprint. It's something like for every metric ton of concrete, it's a metric ton of carbon dioxide. So it's really bad. But we have this thing and nobody would use it because you can't prove that this is the same as concrete. So what we did was we created some of it and we sent it off to labs outside of U of A to run the normal concrete tests on it, the flexibility, the brittleness, all that kind of stuff, to determine if it did, and it came back actually better in all cases than regular concrete. So that's the kind of thing that we'll invest in. Building a startup is a little bit like building a really specialized device. In this case, it is a hill climbing motorcycle. So it's a specialized thing, but it's a motorcycle, and kind of almost anyone can get on a motorcycle and ride it. The problem is, as you get closer and closer to the top, so as you get closer and closer to the finish line, it gets more difficult. And the guy that's experienced and has done it before, that knows how to get there, you have problems. And so that's another reason why what we're looking for is people to help partner with the faculty. So I'm saying, hopefully I would say a little bit about how we've changed things. So I want to quickly go over some of our metrics. One of the things that's really important to me is that a lot of people get hung up on activity. So for instance, it's an activity to collect our invention disclosures. That's when, going back to you again, you say, hey, I have an invention. That's an invention disclosure. That's an activity, that doesn't have impact, but it's an input to the process. Without invention disclosures, we're not getting anywhere. It's an important thing to measure. It shows a measure of engagement with our community, as well as the inventiveness of our university. We then measure our patent filings. This is another measurement of the university's support of this, because it costs money. My patent budget is between $2 and $3 million a year, just to file patents. Patent eventually ends up being issued. That's another slightly more important measure of activity. Now we're getting a little bit more into the impact side. This is something that other people in the US or in the world have said, this is important technology and it is unique. Therefore, we're going to give you a patent on it. More on the impact side is licenses. This doesn't have any value until it gets out into the world. We've got to get people to license it from the university. And finally, real impact. How many people are using this? How many people have been impacted by the technology? We measure that in a lot of ways. One is the actual people. Another one is the companies that raise money. How much money have they raised in their effort to get this thing off? So with all that in mind, I'm going to put you a little bit in my headspace. Everything's based on how much research the university does. And this is our university's research up through 2019. We haven't published 2020 yet. As you can see, we were pretty flat for the first several years that I was here, but it's been growing. That drives invention disclosure. And if you ignore 2020, which was the year of the pandemic, or at least part of the year of the pandemic for us, we had continuous growth in our invention disclosures. Again, that's the input, right? You need to have that. The really important thing here is that blue bar. That's the patent issuance. So our patents getting issued are going up and up and up, and that will continue to happen. And the top universities in the country, take away one or two, are in the low 100s as issue patents per year. So we're approaching that top line right now. And agreements, again, remember that's one of the metrics, or the impact metrics. We're hovering around 100. The blue line is the more important one. The blue line are exclusive ones. When someone takes an exclusive license, that means I'm going to invest money in this. The non-exclusive licenses are important because they're getting out, they're seeing a lot of people, but that means I'm going to license, it's like licensing a software application. Everybody gets a copy. And finally, this is what I'm talking about, easy things to measure. Royalties and income. You can see, prior to TLA, I don't think there was a year that the university made over $1 million in royalties. We're now at 5.3 in recurring. That means every year from the running royalties that we get. The red line are when we have events. And an event would be something like a startup that gets bought. And we get a small share of that because we own equity in the startup. The best thing on this slide for me personally was in 2020, where we made slightly over $7 million, hit a landmark, hit a mark for us, which was there's only some number of universities in the country that get to this landmark, and that is the money that we made in royalties, which remember, we don't keep. It's distributed, it goes to the inventors, it goes to different departments, all that kind of stuff, so it's not to me. The money that we made is equal to the cost it is to run our office. So right now, if the university were to keep all the royalties and then just give it to me, I'm self-sufficient. No university operates keeping all the royalties. It gets distributed. I would have to make about, I think it's $25 million a year in order to pay for myself, because I get a little slice of it. I'm hoping that you'll give me that new stuff. Couple quick examples, getting near the end, of some of the things that you may know about, may not know about. Not everything is a drug. Not everything is a device. One of our more successful things is a license to a company. It wasn't a startup. There's a company in Phoenix called Campus Logic. They sell products to universities around the country and maybe around the world. We built in our student affairs group, we built a software solution for students to get matched to scholarships. And I had no idea if you're aware of this. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of scholarships that just go unawarded every year because nobody knows about them. They don't know how to connect to them. We built a product called Scholarship Universe. Students go in and say, here's all my personal information, and it links to their Bursar account, so to know more about them. And said, here's all the scholarships that you can apply for. And if you want to apply for it, like, click here. And it ended up obviously a lot of people got benefit from this. Campus Logic software said, we want it. And they now incorporated their software and give it to universities around the country. I already talked about outcome and the Panoptics lens. Here's one that's interesting. I don't know if you can see the picture. I purposely made it very thin. It's rats. We have a startup that has created a humane way, which not everybody's going to be worried about, but there's other benefits, of controlling the rat population. And that is they control the reproductive cycle. And it doesn't kill the rat, it just doesn't let them get pregnant. And that stops, I can't remember the number, but something like 15,000 rats per year, one set of rats can start. In their studies, they found if they can reduce populations of rats by 5% in Asia, they would feed 400 million people. If they could reduce the rat population by only 5%, they could increase the food supply for 400 million people based on rice. And it's an amazing thing. That was a study there. We talked about the lens. outcome is, we have another site-giving technology that has won awards. It's actually in Time Magazine's one of the top 25 inventions of 2017. It's called eSight. It actually gives people that are legally blind vision. It's done through cameras and light, but it's essentially, you can see he's wearing it right there. It's a set of goggles. And the best example I heard about, which was a touching story, was a man and woman, a guy who had spent his career as whatever he was doing, slowly was losing his sight. Then she got to the point he couldn't work anymore. He heard about this, he went in with his wife, and they looked at it, and they said, I can run the cost. It's $25,000. I run the cost. And the guy said, thank you, we can't do this. Walked up, and his wife said, why? Would you do it for me? That's different. Of course I would do it for you. We're doing it. That guy now is one of the senior, not a VP, but C-level type person in that company. It is, isn't it? I'm not going to show this video because it's too long. This video is really interesting. We have a software company called NeuroID that can tell your intention as you're working on a computer. And it's essentially I should show the video so you can see it. This is actually really good. It's essentially that. It's based on essentially when someone's going to go on for an online loan. Are they answering things honestly? And they can judge that through the way they select answers, change answers, move their mouse, and it's all tracked, and they can figure out. So it's not just your general use. We're not going to know what you're doing. But it would be very useful for data science. Yes. They've got hundreds of thousands of, they've got, I think it's 500,000 customer interactions a day. And the way they look at it, and this is true, they're actually opening up financial options to people that normally would be denied immediately. Because by looking at the way they're responding to these answers, the companies have more information about that particular person and feel more confident in giving them a loan.
Still scary.
This is what just our startups, not our licenses. This is what we've done from the year 2016 to 2018. This is the impact of those startups just on Arizona. So up till 2018, we had launched 71 companies total. In the 3 years that we measured, those 71 companies had $500 million economic impact on Arizona. And it created 5,000 jobs. So that's the kind of impact that we're looking for, and we're going to continue to do. And I got to get done because I know my time's done. This, I don't know if you know, we're building new buildings on the bridges. That's where I'm going to be. It's going to look like this when it's done. And I will be on the first floor of that, and that's going to be the innovation hub for the university. Hopefully, not opening this fall is when we're going to be looking at it. I'm going to skip some of these other examples. This one's good. I got to show you. This is cool. This is a laser-based screening tool. They can't call it a diagnosis because there's other things that go into it. But essentially, what it right now is going to be used for is within 1 to 10 minutes, depending on if it's positive or negative, it can tell somebody with a blood sample, a spit sample, something like that, whether there's COVID in that sample. And because it's laser-based, all it needs is a software upgrade to do the next virus, the next material, the next thing. Last thing I'll talk about is this. This works here because we have a group, we have a network of about 1,400 people around the country that have been called. Said, are you willing to help if we call you? And they say, yeah, if you call me, I'll help you. And it's subject matter experts, business executives, entrepreneurs, etc. And then from that group, we have a smaller group, about 30 people that are mostly local, that said, I'll help you twice a month. And they actually meet with us twice a month. We talk about projects that we're doing. They get really interested in one guy's research or another woman's particular technology. And we actually set up meetings, have them meet with them, understand more about what they're doing, hopefully move these things faster every month. And I think that's it. That's it.
We have time for two questions. Come this way, stand in front of the microphone. Come this way. Come over here and ask your question. Come on, these are two questions. All right, Dan. Dan right here.
Hi. A great presentation. And it was either 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago. We had a bunch of professors leave Clark schools. And we heard it was a brain drain of professors because they were getting into there. Can you tell us about that?
No, I can't say specifically about that because I wasn't aware of it. That must have been before my time. I can tell you that, generally speaking, we won't have a whole bunch of faculty leave just for that reason. Now, any individual faculty member that's really got something going well and is frustrated with any particular university may leave. Almost always, not always, almost always, it's one of these grass is greener things. I'll tell you right now, the problem that every university encounters, or every faculty member that tries to do this encounters, is conflict. So you can't, I'm going back to you, Jim. You can't start your company and then do all your work in the university for the company. Because then you're using state resources, personal benefit, company benefit, all benefit. So there's management plans that we set up. And this is how you interact with the university. This is when you do things, all that kind of stuff. And invariably someone says, well, this is just too much red tape. I'm going to go somewhere else. Well, other places, typically, especially now here, much harder and I would say more draconian. Best example I have is Stanford. Stanford's rule is, if you want to start a company, that's fine, 1 year. After that, you either quit the company or quit Stanford. And we don't do that. We try to figure out ways to manage that. Hope that answered your question.
Thank you.
Yep.
A lot of universities take an equities position in some of the startups that come out. And due to the Arizona Constitution 20 years ago or so, we were debating whether or not to let U of A do that. At the time, we decided not to. Have they changed their mind? Are you allowed to take an equity position now?
That's a great question. No, we're not, and there's still a problem here. Actually, the year I came, or the year after I came, we went back on the ballot, and again got voted down. I think the problem is people misunderstood what was being asked. The university holding equity does not make us an investment arm. It doesn't mean we're being speculative. All it means is that we're holding equity. Typically what we do is when we start a company, instead of having that startup, which has no money, give us money, we say, don't give us money, give us a small equity stake. It's usually 5% that starts diluting almost right away. Not right away, it starts diluting 2.5 million in investment. It starts diluting. And we just hold it until it's got value. That's those red bars on the top of my thing. The way it's handled here is the foundation is not a state entity. So we made an agreement with the foundation and with our startups that the foundation gets equity in startups, say 5%. I'm sorry, yes, the U of A Foundation. Yep, U of A Foundation. So they hold the equity for the university and for the benefit of the university. Thanks.
I don't know about the rest of the things, but my mind is blown right now. Amazing. We have a tradition in our club in which we have our keynotes, and I think that we donate to our Make Way the Book Club. together. And today's book is Stanley's Toolbox. So if you'd sign that for us. Okay, you guys, we're going on to birthdays. We have a couple in the house today. We're going to start with a birthday that's actually today. The first member's birthday. She's been a member since March of 2002, is a graduate of Tucson in Maryland. She started out in HR for Zurich Insurance Company Group and eventually ended up in compensation, which she really found it to be her niche. She worked for both Mercer and Rouse until she decided to go out on her own and started her own consulting business. KAK Compensation has now been in business for 21 years. Kathy enjoys volunteering for Arizona Town Hall, her church, as well as traveling, cooking, spending time with her friends. And though she wasn't overly fond of going on ABC tours, I'll let her explain what ABC tours are. With her husband, she now truly enjoys visiting cathedrals, temples, churches, and the like. Kathy says that her best Rotary moment was sponsoring Chuck Sawyer. But I have to say that I'm really glad that Hank sponsored you, Kathy. Come on up.
Okay, it's time to update my profile. I retired in January of 2019 and love retirement. I'm so happy to be here today. It's my first time back since the beginning of the pandemic. And I was remembering this morning that I was supposed to meet Bob Logan in the studio to record my minute for my birthday last year, my 60th birthday. I thought, oh, this would be fun. For some reason, I couldn't make it. We never worked it out for me to come back, and I was kind of sad about that. Because I wanted to celebrate with all of you. And so I'm extra happy that it's worked out for my vaccinations to have been hooked on Friday, and I'm back, and I'm so happy to be here and among you. Thank you.
I have to say, the root beers kind of threw me off a little. I was eyeballing Scott Lawn and Wayne over there. I thought they ordered beer. But then I noticed the rest of them. Our next birthday, we're actually celebrating a bit early. She's been a member since January of 1991. She was actually one of our first woman members. Born in the Bronx, she grew up in Eastchester and attended and graduated from Indiana University with a bachelor's degree in Spanish. And I learned today that not only is she fluent in Spanish, she can parler francais. Very impressive. Her career is vast and varied. She was a dancer on both Broadway and in LA. She was a reporter and a senior news anchor at KGUN 9 News. She was a city council member and the director of communications at UMC. She enjoys traveling, gardening, and dancing, and clearly she's talented because she actually had the occasion to dance with the one and only Sammy Davis Jr. in Vegas. And she and the king, Elvis, got to hang out and discuss numerology. Maybe peanut butter and banana sandwiches, I don't know. Come on up here, Nina. Celebrate your birthday with her.
I'm also short. Thanks for bringing. Thanks for that intro, Jen. Yeah, I've had a very varied and interesting career and life, and I feel very, very lucky to have had all the experiences that I've had in my life. I'll tell you anytime you want. 44 years ago, on my 31st birthday, this guy I was dating was kind of nice. Blonde hair, rancher, in correctional education. It's nice. He took me to the TAC room for dinner. How could I not marry him? And that's when I met Drew, who was my sponsor. 30 years ago. And yes, I am one of the longest standing members, or I am the longest attending meetings. Katie Dusenberry and I came in, and she's still a member but not active. So if you want to hear stories about coming into a room with 270 men and being the only woman there, it was very interesting in the beginning. The thing that's hard is it's going to be my first birthday without Rod in 44 years. And the only time I get really emotional is when I'm with friends, because I can let my guard down, and so I appreciate that. It's a landmark year for me. It's 30 years in Rotary, which is significant, and it's my 75th birthday coming up. God, boy, please help. Yeah. So, my gift for Rotary, and Charlotte, I'm changing designations, but for my Paul Harris Fellow, I want to designate it for my husband.
On a side note, do you guys remember Pedro, my exchange student from Brazil? Today is his birthday. Yay! I'll have to FaceTime later. All right. Now we are going to be having past district governor, past president, come on up for a presentation now. Okay.
And Faye, I promise I didn't use that Neuro ID or anything. I'm reading what I was given, so anyway. Today, I am proud to present a very special recognition to fellow Rotarian Faye Morse, who is receiving her Triple Crown recognition pin, which she is already wearing. This recognition represents her dedication to Rotary as reflected in her commitment as a Paul Harris Society member, as a major donor, and as a member of the Rotary Foundation Bequest Society. Introduced and endeared to us through our former Rotarian and her related husband Sid, a longtime and active member of our club, Faye was made an honorary member of our club in 2007, and in 2015 she became an active member of our club. Growing up in Southern California, Faye has always had a zest for travel. By the time she was 21, she had traveled in over 20 countries. Upon her return from Europe, she moved to Lake Tahoe and became a blackjack dealer, and also became one of the first women croupiers to deal baccarat. A couple years later, she moved to New York City to also pursue a career in fashion. By day, they worked in the Garment Center, and in the evening, she taught blackjack for the New York School of Gaming just as Atlantic City casinos were opening. 3 years later, Faye was transferred with her apparel company to Los Angeles and worked at the California Mart. While there, she met and married Sid. Sid was a Rotarian in LA, and Faye quickly became aware of the great work that Rotary does in the world. They had quite an exciting life, to include having dinner with Henry Kissinger, meeting Prince Philip, having to learn the proper way to curtsy, we all saw The Crown, right? And dinner with Joe Biden, the first time he ran for president, and sharing a cocktail with Senator Ted Kennedy. One special memory was dinner with Justice Sandra Day O'Connor in her home in D.C. Faye was also able to reciprocate with a barbecue dinner in her home in Tucson. When they moved to Tucson, Sid became a member of our club. Together, Sid and Faye led a group through our club to Puerto Vallarta and gave away wheelchairs. Faye shares that this was a lifetime experience for her. Faye has many interests. First and foremost, fashion, interior design, travel, and antiquing. She is an accomplished art collector, a pilot, and always into health and fitness. Later in life, she became a Ford model and has been in multiple national publications, catalogs, and commercials. Faye married Eric Smith in 2016. They spent half the year in Tucson and half in Los Angeles. But soon they are replacing LA for Durango, Colorado. Eric owns and operates multiple spas in LA that Faye also helps with. While in California, Faye does her makeups for Rotary at the Hermosa Beach Rotary Club with all of its 12 members. Her support of charities in our community includes Integrated Touch for Kids, where Eric and Faye received the Family Award in 2019. She has also served on the Father's Day Council Board for 20 years, provides nursing scholarships through Pima Community College, and supports the following additional organizations: Angel Charities, YMCA, Right Flight, American Red Cross, Goodwill, and the Humane Society. Her dedication to Rotary is also reflected in her generous support of her Rotary sponsor in their Ride to End Polio each year. She also faithfully returns to Tucson each October for our car show, where she participates doing many things, including checking in our show cars. And she has been the underwriting sponsor of our Friday night dinner at the car show for a number of years. Faye shares that she is very fortunate to be able to give to Rotary International, and that being a part of Rotary opens one's eyes to the needs of the rest of the world. She has a motto, and that is, you never go broke by giving to charities. Congratulations, Faye, and thank you for your continued and generous support of Rotary.
Yes, we do. We have a raffle. And what's the name of this? Is it King of Clubs or King of Hearts? Something. King of Clubs raffle.
Thank you.
And we're gonna do the card draw next week for whoever wins. Make sure you show up here next week. But right now, we're gonna draw the raffle ticket. Want to draw a ticket out of there? Here we go. Let's see. Get your tickets out. 383-579. Somebody's dabbing. Oh, good! All right. That's fantastic. Are you guys going to be here next week? So Faye will do the card draw next week. And cash. Let's see if I can get somewhere. This is not this weekend. So today we brought in $258 in sales. So a quarter of that goes to Eric, $64. A quarter of that goes into the pot, which was $844 today plus 64, and then half of it, $229, goes to our club. So awesome. And we have announcements. Chuck Sawyer is going to step up to the podium.
Thank you, President Jen. So the venue committee is working hard. Thank you all for being here. This is the third of our meetings in our new venue. We have an important decision coming up. So fill out your surveys that we have and go ahead and collect those afterwards, either at the doors going out. And you're going to have one more survey that you're going to see, a Survey Monkey that's going to go out, I think, tonight. It has two questions on it. Just simply, which of the locations would be most convenient for you, and which of the locations do you think would be easiest for us to grow our Rotary Club? So we'll take all that information, we're distilling it down, and we're going to the board, advising the board on the decision, and we really appreciate all of your participation in this important decision. All right? Thank you all.
And Bob Schaub is
It's time for me to update you on the status of our high-profile project. I want to remind you that the purpose of this project is to get people in our club to complete their high profile, to encourage more conversations, and to find more common points of interest among each other. This is the best way to build friendships and relationships that add so much value to a club as big as ours is. So, in my effort to do something different, I've decided, and to get members to complete their high profile, I've decided to follow
some of the advice that we're getting these days to follow the science. You've heard that phrase. So when we follow the science, it's motivating cities and states in our country to try to get 80% of our population vaccinated against the COVID virus. So I'm going to try to get that same approach. Following the science, in this case, is to help us. This is, to reach herd immunity. That was the whole point. Herd immunity is 80% getting the COVID vaccine. Well, the 80% that I'm trying to get is 80% of our members to complete their high profile. And I'm calling it herd friendships. Because if we go on high profile, we'll get some herd friendships and herd relationships. Let's see how we're doing. On the screen here, you can see that 173 of our members, or 74%, have completed their high profile. But we still have a ways to go. That's pretty good. We're close to 80%. We only need 17 more members to get to 80%. And you know what? I did a count. There are 9 members here, and most of you know who you are. And so, if we get 17 more members, we'll be at 80%. I want to congratulate the 7 members who were the most famous to complete their high profiles. So, if you haven't participated yet, please let me know. I'll help you in any way I can to get that high profile up on Top Runner. Let's hear it for herd friendship.
And we have a blue badge presentation coming up. And just to thank Eric for donating the winnings from the raffle today back to the club. Thank you.
We've got a blue badge to present to one of our new members from last year. And she got off to a great start. She helped with the Salvation Army bell ringing that if you haven't had a chance to do, what a fun project. Tamara made a lot of friends, and unfortunately, COVID did hit us all, and we haven't seen her for a while. So welcome back, Tamara Carando.
My magnetic personality. I have the pleasure today of giving 2 blue badges out to the DeVoes, Lynn and Dan DeVoe. And I looked at the profile bomb. Go ahead. Okay.
Change of plan, change of plan.
Okay. A couple of things from their high profile. Lynn has a medical building business, has had it for 34 years. She was in Rotary in San Jose, California for 15 years, so we're really lucky to have Lynn, who has all this experience, and Dan, because he's her husband. It's a package. They hosted Home Hospitality last week. They jumped in and got involved in the car show. And Dan joined the sign team with his talents in carpentry. So we welcome him. We're very happy to have him. Get to do that.
One more presentation. And a big thanks to Westward for hosting us today.
Good afternoon. Thanks for coming with us and staying with us. And I just want to say, your work is, I've admired it for a long time. My father was a Rotarian up in Canada for 35 years and passed away a few years ago. I miss a lot about him. What I don't miss, though, is every year him hammering for free hotel stays, raffles and all these events around the world. So, no, thank you very much for your service. I just wanted to talk about Westward Look real quick. We just, here in our newly renovated ballroom, was renovated, finished about 8 months ago, but it's virtually been empty since. So you're one of the largest events we've had in a year, so thank you for that. We're just finishing our $12 million renovation. We've got 241 rooms. We've renovated 220. The last 21 are being done as we speak. And so everything, a lot of stuff that the guest doesn't see, we replaced all our HVAC systems, 161. Did all the roofs. What we haven't done, which I know is our front drive yet, is the asphalt.
Oh, yeah, right.
Please excuse that. Why we haven't done that is we haven't finished the room renovation. We've still got a lot of heavy trucks coming up. And so hopefully within 2 to 3 months we'll have that done. And then our next plan and the last part of the renovation is to re-asphalt the whole Westward Oak Drive. So stay away from potholes. I just wanted to let you know also in the news last week, so we have successfully annexed ourselves to Oro Valley, and this is a friendly takeover. It's not like Putin State we're trying to friend with. So we're in a period now where it's a 30-day quiet period, so where our owners can pull out, or Oro Valley can't pull out, which I don't think either is going to happen. And so officially May 21st will be part of Oro Valley. And so that's Oro Valley. That's important for us as it is for them. For them, obviously, it's bed tax revenue and future sales tax on anything that we develop. Just for the record, we don't have any plans to develop anything down near Ina at this point. And for us, it opens up a whole lot of new possibilities for groups and companies that habitually stay around Oro Valley. For example, Honeywell, Roche Diagnostics, actually U of A is also Oro Valley, and so that will open us up to getting some of their business to come here rather than stay in Oro Valley. And I think honestly for Rotary, it could be a new possibility for members as well. So that's it for the annexation. I think it's just 3 years worth of work. There'll be a lot of quiet right now for the next few years as we decide what we want to develop down by Ina. But and other than that, any other? I don't think there's a question for you, but we have a question. Go ahead.
In honor of your Rotarian father, did you want to buy some car show tickets?
I'll leave it last week, but I guess not. Absolutely.
Would you like to
Yes.
Would you like to become a Rotarian?
I was thinking what I wanted to say, so I thought, should I mention my father? If I do, I know I'm going to get hit up. We'll look at it at this point. I'm involved in a lot of stuff, a lot of charities, so I try and pace myself a little bit, but I'll consider that.
We do have room for another member.
Perfect. I'm sure you do. Any other questions at all? Okay, thanks again. I just want to thank Chef Todd, who wandered off from the function. Todd has been working with your team, just putting together some menus, and looks like the root beer float was a hit. So thank you. Thanks very much for your time.
All right, we'll wrap things up. Bob, you talked to them earlier. Thank you guys for coming today. Thank you all the guests that came to join us today. Thank you guys who tuned in virtually. We appreciate you. If you'd like to donate to this cups, there is a cup at the registration table, and make sure you drop off your name tags on the way out. Happy birthday, Kathy, Nina. Good to see you again. It's been a while. Next week's meeting, I know we got unfortunate news that the head football coach couldn't be here due to a scheduling conflict with the NCAA. It came up before lucky that the head coach of the U of A gymnastics team will be here next week. So please join us for that. And if you all would like to join me in a toast. It's always just hard to toast just out of the blue, so it's nice to tie it into a quote. And today's quote I found is Confucius. Confucius say, just kidding, we have 2 lives, and the second one begins when we realize we only have one. So, Here's to the realization and embracing each day as a gift. You guys have a great afternoon.
I'll email it.